Hello, everybody. It's Sunday, and yes, it's me, Bigfoot Michigan Rob, with another encounter story for everybody. Again, it is Sunday. Happy 4th of July coming up on Tuesday. Quick program note Tuesday, Beyond BMR at 9 o'clock in the East will not be on 4th of July, taking the day off. However, I'll be back Thursday live with Krista at noon Central, 1 in the East. We'll have Amber from Amber's Para World. She's a paranormal investigator. However, she came across some alleged Bigfoot and Dogman sightings or encounters doing her paranormal research. That's going to be a fabulous show. Thanks to each and every single one of you for subscribing to Bigfoot Michigan Rob on YouTube. If not already, please do so. You do know 2 live shows on Tuesday at 9, Thursday at 1 in the East. I appreciate everybody's support. The super thanks is open for those who care to donate. This story has got everything. It's a Bigfoot encounter in upstate New York, and it's got the preceding investigation after the encounter. So let's get on with it. Again, thanks for subscribing. I appreciate everybody for your support. Here we go. It was a frightful day on October 27th. The year is 2011. My name is Frank, and I and my wife Julie had quite an event while sitting on our back porch. Our property is about 3 acres that backs up to the forest, where my wife and I live in a quaint town in upstate New York. Julie and I were watching several deer graze about 20 yards outside of the woodline when all of a sudden, something running on all fours came blazing from the tree line. Upon approaching one of the deer, it stood upright, ran several feet, grabbed the deer around the neck, seemed to twist and break the deer's neck, then bipedally ran back into the woods. Julie and I sat in disbelief. We never, in the 6 years living on this property, had ever experienced anything like this. It was a common occurrence to see deer and other wildlife on the property, but never experienced such a violent display. To make this even more terrifying was the fact that this beast so fluidly grabbed up the deer like a feather and ran on its 2 legs. Certainly, bears can go up on 2 legs but are awkward in their approach. This was very graceful and very fluid, extremely natural. Julie and I are very aware of the possible existence of Bigfoot, as our friend Tim studies and researches the subject some 20 miles from our home where he lives. We also have watched documentaries on the subject whenever we happen to catch on a local television cable program. This purely is for our entertainment, with a slight belief in such creatures like Bigfoot existing. The next day, I decided to call Tim and tell him about what we had witnessed. After the next day's conversation with Tim, he had asked if I went out to the area where we saw this great event and told where this event took place, and I told him I had not. He told me to go have a look, and he would come by within the hour. Julie, meanwhile, told me just to wait for Tim before going to look at the area of the encounter. And to be honest, I had zero intentions of venturing out to the wood line and decided to just sit there and wait for Tim. Tim arrived just about 3 o'clock, and we walked out to the area in question. Tim came with a camera, tape measure, casting material, and binoculars. He was so very excited to go take a look at my property where Julie and I experienced this event. Tim has been researching Bigfoot for about 6 years after proclaiming to have seen a Bigfoot while camping in Ohio with his family. Tim had told me that during his encounter he witnessed yellow eyeshine that had hovered about 8 feet above the ground with a shadow cast from the woods that took the shape of some sort of bipedal hominid. Since that day, he has been immersed in the subject of Bigfoot and has gone on a variety of expeditions and attends many conferences on the subject across the United States. So, needless to say, Tim was stoked. We approached the approximate area where Julie and my sighting took place, and immediately Tim started looking for clues or evidence. It did not take long before we both came across several bipedal tracks that laid freshly upon the grass and dirt on the ground. Clearly, the tracks were human-like. One of the tracks was perfect, Clearly outlined on the ground was a track with a perfect arrangement of 5 toes with an immense foot track. The track itself was measured at 19 inches long and almost 6 inches wide. Other tracks were found, but not as prominent as this one. Tim said to me, "Frank, you have a Bigfoot." Tim was giddy like a kid. I, to be honest, felt excitement running through my body. I quickly called out to Julie to have her come out and have a look. Julie arrived, and she too felt the excitement by the expression that I saw on her face. The question now remains, what is our next step? Tim grabbed his casting material and went about creating the cast, and we went back to the house to indeed discuss our next plan of action. Julie made dinner, and we spent the entire evening leading into the night talking about Bigfoot. It was decided that Tim and I would go hiking back in the woods the next morning and look for more evidence and hopefully come across some more tracks. 6 a.m. the following day, Tim and I went off on our journey. Julie kissed me and wished us a safe and eventful travel. She was a little reluctant about my looking for Bigfoot, but she too was intrigued and she did understand. Tim and I set off into the woods directly at the tree line where the Bigfoot had first emerged. We were off. The both of us had immense adrenaline flowing and acted like school kids upon embarking on this adventure. After an hour or so hiking upon a rather narrow trail, we came upon a set of tracks almost identical to the tracks left on my property. Tim, again, set a cast, and after measuring the track, it again was the same measurement from the earlier cast. We now believe we do have the evidence that Bigfoot is in my area. We ventured further, several miles, when in the distance we heard a wood knock. It was extremely loud and reminded me of the sound you hear at a baseball game when the batter smacks a home run at the stadium. We stopped for several minutes to observe. I, having my phone, activated my recorder in the hopes of hearing another wood knock. What I was about to record was not that of a wood knock, but that of a typical whoop, the sound that Bigfoot allegedly makes. Then, 20 seconds later or so, another whoop. This, however, was coming from another direction and was a little bit further out. Tim spoke to me. "Frank, my friend, there is not only one Bigfoot here, but I do believe the second whoop was an answer or response to the very first vocalization." My head is swooning with excitement, and we venture yet deeper into the woods. Within a half hour or so, we came across a huge X structure in the woods. The trees were uprooted, and the root bulbs crossed each other at the top of the X, with the top of the trees firmly implanted in the ground before us. The structure was at least 18 feet tall by 12 feet wide. Immense. Tim and I are grinning ear to ear, and we are literally flabbergasted. Going back over all the evidence, firstly, the encounter that Jules and I had with the deer, that I now believe was a Bigfoot, the footprints, finding yet another footprint that matched the first, the two whoops, and now this X structure. Tim and I decided it was time to head back home, and it was getting late in the day, and we have ventured at least 3 hours into the woods. I got home to tell Julie about our findings, and she too was filled with excitement. Since this experience, Julie and I have joined Tim in his investigations, and we too have become Bigfoot researchers. As far as this story goes, I have never seen the Bigfoot we experienced that day, nor have we seen any new or fresh tracks. The X structure still remains. We are decided and dedicated to finding more about this elusive creature, and it has added definitely a new chapter in our life. I think that was a great story. It was a little bit shorter, but hey, you know what? It doesn't matter how long they are. This has a lot of good evidence. The encounter. Can you imagine sitting on your back porch? A creature, alleged Bigfoot, comes out, grabs a deer, and right in front of your eyes, lifts it, twists its head, snaps its neck, runs back into the forest. And then these guys go back the next day and investigate. Kudos to them, and I'm glad they came across something. And again, like a lot of reports, you see it, the Bigfoot one time and never again. I'm glad that they're taking up Bigfoot research. I'm glad they're excited about it. I thought that was a cool story for you guys on this Sunday for the 4th of July. Again, happy 4th of July. Thank you for subscribing to Bigfoot Michigan Rob on YouTube. If not already, please do. The super thanks is open should you care to donate. However, with that being said, I'll see you next Thursday at noon Central, 1 in the East. Bigfoot Michigan Rob, I'm out. Thank you ever so much, and have a great day and weekend.